We are at a critical state.
It's been 5 years since Councilwoman Jessica Green was named the chairperson of the Metro Council Public Safety Committee, but she says this year is by far the most challenging.
First off, it's been 1 year since Breonna Taylor achieved sainthood for being killed in a drug raid. And everything, the fallout of all that, and the anti-police sentiments and the political leanings and just the emboldening of criminals has led to what you're seeing there. But what also has led to that, they got a sister in charge of public safety. Do you see what these sister DAs are doing all over the country? Kim Gardner in St. Louis, Rachel Rollins in Massachusetts, Boston, Marilyn Mosby in Baltimore, Kim Fox in Chicago. And all these sister police chiefs, woke police chiefs. It's some positions that if you're a city, man, you got to really think about, like, is this what we want to do, man? Look at the results.
We are at a critical state.
It's been 5 years since Councilwoman Jessica Green was named the chairperson of the Metro Council Public Safety Committee, but she says this year is by far the most challenging.
If we fail to act, I'm really worried about where we head.
According to LMPD's last report, of the 158 murdered people this year, 21 of them have been younger than 18 years old. A statistic officers say is fairly unusual when comparing it to previous years. Green says when trying to find out how that happened, look no further than January of 2020.
The closure of JCYC.
JCYC, or the Jefferson County Youth Detention Center, was shut down due to budget cuts. As a result, Louisville juveniles who commit crimes are sent to other parts of the state. Green says that makes it hard for community leaders to reach them and work with them on integrating back into society, which means more often than not, they'll end up committing crimes again.
See, this is the problem with this liberal thinking. All these grand ideas, these tangled webs, these long, windy roads. So they think that the spike in crime is because, let me see if I can follow this. I know the juvenile detention center closed, and the son teens have been shipped to other places outside of the city, making it harder for the programs and the social workers to reach them and integrate them back into society. So when they come back to society, they don't have all the good stuff they learned from these programs and these social workers and these activists to help them be productive citizens. All of that is why there's crime, really. And these people are getting paid. They're getting paid to be in charge of public safety, and they don't know a thing about what's driving the crime. They know nothing about it.
Green says when trying to find out how that happened, look no further than January of 2020.
The closure of JCYC.
JCYC, or the Jefferson County Youth Detention Center, was shut down due to budget cuts. As a result, Louisville juveniles who commit crimes are sent to other parts of the state. Green says that makes it hard for community leaders to reach them and work with them on integrating back into society, which means more often than not, they'll end up committing crimes again.
I've had private conversations with colleagues about what that looks like, and is there an appetite to try to reopen the facility.
Green says other ways the city can address the issue is by funding. Over the course of the pandemic, she says the city has been the beneficiary of federal funds.
For the first time, we have the opportunity to do some really creative things. We can pay now by investing on the front end, or we can pay later by continuing to build penitentiaries.
Okay. Now, I usually say that I think these people have good intentions with all these programs, these BS programs that they get funding from our tax dollars for. In this case, I don't think so. I think this woman just wants a check for her and her cronies so they can get some of that. That's why they talk about redirecting funds and all that crap. They don't want to help these. They know this stuff doesn't work. You can look at this woman and tell she knows it doesn't work just by the long, drawn-out, winding, nonsensical explanation she gave for crime. Rising crime in her city. She doesn't know what's going on. She just wants to get a check from the city to sit up in the air-conditioned office, pay herself a salary out of a grant, pay her little girlfriend a salary out of a grant, and shuffle around a bunch of paperwork or some Sun-teen criminals. And talk about we made contact. I've been in these programs. Listen, one thing y'all don't know about me. I've been in these programs. Ex-offender programs. I've been in these programs. They don't work.
Over the course of the pandemic, she says the city has been the beneficiary of federal funds.
For the first time, we have the opportunity to do some really creative things. We can pay now by investing on the front end, or we can pay later by continuing to build penitentiaries.
Some of those creative ideas she's working on includes increasing pay for Metro officers, as well as using the money to create more resources.
Like supporting after-school programs for children, supporting job readiness and training programs for young people.
The only thing she said that'll work is increasing pay for cops, because that'll attract more people that want to be cops. And cops will stop leaving the force and stop retiring and going to other areas because of the anti-police sentiment and all the BS they got to put up with. Everything else she said, unfortunately. Now, I wish that stuff worked. I wish job training, you could give some Sun-teens that are shooting at each other every day on the streets and sipping lean and raised by savages. I wish you could just sit them in front of in a room and have them pay attention for hours about while you talk about job training. Not a job training. They're not going to take these little Sun-teens, or even the ones that may be old enough to work, whatever the age is in the city, and take them down to these restaurants or these places, all these bars and restaurants that need people to bust tables for $5 an hour. Or all these little construction sites that need flaggers to wave people around the traffic because they can't do the skilled labor. You need hombreros for that, but it's tons of jobs out here. They're not going to get these kids these jobs that are out here. They're going to sit them in a room. Little kids that flunked out of school, that can't operate in school, that have behavioral issues, that can't sit still for 2 minutes, have no respect for authority, are genuinely bad people. You judge it. All right, you go run into some of them, and they give me your report. These are bad people. However they got there. At the point when she gets them, they're terrible human beings. You're going to take that person and sit them in the classroom and preach and lecture them about what they need to do to get trained to get a job, and not give them a job, actual job. And give them a little stipend to come every day. Are you crazy?
Like support supporting after-school programs for children, supporting job readiness and training programs for young people.
She says talks on these ideas have already begun. Although she's not sure if they'll work, she says it's worth a try.
We understand, and what we know is that doing the same old thing has gotten us dismal results.
In Louisville, Manoj Kungwari, WLKY News.
Well, Green does not plan to seek re-election for her position on the council next year. She instead plans to run for Jefferson County Circuit Court judge.
This woman is going to be running for a judge in Jefferson County, which is the county that Louisville is in. She's going to be a judge with this mentality. Oh my God, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. Her as a judge. She's going to win too. She's a sister. It's a Democratically run city. They might as well not even have the election unless she run it against another sister. She's going to be a circuit judge next year. Yikes.
Hello, how are you doing today, man? Doing good.
Lavelle White is on the job Monday afternoon, walking the streets in the Highlands. He knows it's an important job that could reflect how people feel about the city.
Now I feel proud that I get to clean up, that I can greet people, talk to people, help people out if they may need assistance.
And the Louisville native wants his hometown to be the best it can be.
We know Burstown Road has its issues and problems, so we're providing a safe, friendly, inviting environment. Hello, how are you doing today?
Doing well, you?
Doing great.
As he made his way
I just wanted to introduce myself.
up and down Bardstown Road Monday afternoon, he took the time to introduce himself to local business owners.
And if you ever see us out in public, just ask for some help.
The Highlands is a brand new neighborhood for the community ambassadors, and they're working it block by block.
When you look around, you think about, there's no litter in downtown and it gets cleaned up throughout the day. Who does that? A lot of times it's the ambassadors working in conjunction with city services. And so the city had an idea that they would like to replicate that program through multiple neighborhoods throughout Louisville.
Now this brother is doing something that's worth something. Salute to this brother and the community ambassadors. Picking up trash is a very important thing. When Pookie and the Sun Team Brigade don't see trash on the ground, they feel out of place. They feel when they don't see the bandos and vacants and dilapidated houses and homeless people and drug addicts splayed out all over the place and needles. And when they don't see that stuff, they feel out of place. They're like, oh man, they going to think, okay, there's some suckers up here that we can rob and jack, but they're not going to want to hang out there and just loiter there. So this brother, it may seem small what he's doing, cleaning up the trash and just being a presence. He looked hot. They would call this brother, Sun Teams would call him hot. Oh, he looked like he the feds. He 12, he the police. So they're like, just try to, oh man, he over here, he probably the police. Anybody with a uniform on, now he won't get any respect, like if he were to encounter them. But all I'm talking about is just his presence makes them uncomfortable. Not saying that he's going to get any kind of respect or reverence or, they're going to treat him like a human being. No, they're going to be very disrespectful. If he asks them anything, they're going to be like, you ain't the cops, you ain't the police. But still his presence, him cleaning up, him just being there and a bunch of it just makes it uncomfortable for Sun Teens. And you need everything you can to make it uncomfortable for them so that they don't want to come around, because that's the only cure. Like, if they're around, you're going to have these problems. If they're not, you won't. So it's like all this other crap about the creativity and reimagining this. The only way you're safe is if they're not around.
When you look around, you think about, there's no litter in downtown and it gets cleaned up throughout the day. Who does that? A lot of times it's the ambassadors working in conjunction with city services. And so the city had an idea that they would like to replicate that program through multiple neighborhoods throughout Louisville.
You'll see the community ambassadors here in the Highlands, Nulu, Beachmont, and pretty soon West Louisville, expanding to where they think the need is the greatest.
They will evaluate that over the course of a year. We'll experiment, try it in different neighborhoods, see where the most impact is, whether it's statistical data, anecdotal, to make some decisions about where the program goes spring and into summer next year.
White and other community ambassadors, their goal is to be present as eyes and ears and helping hands to deter crime and help everyone enjoy the Derby City.
There's a lot of people coming to restaurants, dinners, and bars, and having a good time out and shopping in the local retail as well.
In the Highlands, Natasha Williams, WLKY News.